Right, so what I've done now is we've left the murder ground in Spitalfields and we've come to East London, to St Patrick's Catholic Cemetery, in order to find the grave of Mary Kelly, or Marie Jeanette Kelly, as she used to like to call herself. Now, you can see this cemetery. It's a bit of a lumber room, really. That's typical of Catholic cemeteries. They certainly go in for monuments all over the place. But to find Mary Kelly, we have to bear all the way round to the right. And I believe there's something like 200,000 people buried here. Probably that's a bit of an exaggeration, but not much of an exaggeration. And they include all sorts of people. John McCarthy, the landlord of Mary Kelly, is buried here. And so is Stephen Lewis, the actor who played Cyril Blakely on the buses. If we just turn all the way around here, as I say, go all the way around to the right until we get to these doors, and then we look out over on the left, and Mary Kelly is somewhere along here on the right. So, what I'm trying to do today is to talk about really the response these murders had upon the ordinary people of London. And now, just making our way here, we don't have to go too far. What we can do, I think, is just head off to the left-hand side. We'll just do that for a moment. Find a bench on which I can sit and talk a bit about Mary Kelly, Marie Jeanette Kelly, and the funeral. And as I say, the impact that all this had on the people who knew the victims of this murder. So, just turn around, have a look at, here I am. And what I'd like to do is just read a copy of an article which appeared on the 21st of November in 1888, that appeared in the East London, East London Advertiser. Let's see if I can just adjust this. Can you see me? Yes, you can. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll switch it and actually see the grave. So, the article that appeared said, "The remains of the unfortunate woman, Marie Jeanette Kelly, who was murdered on November the 9th in Miller's Court, Dorset Street, Spitalfields, were carried on Monday from the Shoreditch mortuary to the Roman Catholic cemetery at Leytonstone for interment, amid a scene of turbulent excitement. On the afternoon of the murder, the body of the murdered woman was conveyed to the mortuary attached to St Leonard's Church, Shoreditch, and there it remained until Monday." So Monday was the 9th, so Saturday the 10th, Sunday the 11th. We're talking about the 12th. But again, the body had to lie for another week before the funeral could be arranged. "Since the inquest, a great amount of sympathy for the unhappy creature has been created, but it remained for Mr. H. Wilton, the sexton attached to Shoreditch Church, to put sympathy into practical form. And as no relatives have appeared, he incurred the total cost of the funeral himself. Mr. Wilton has been the sexton for over 50 years, and he provided the funeral as a mark of sincere sympathy for the poor people of the neighbourhood, in whose welfare he is deeply interested. The body of the enclosed, in a polished elm and oak coffin with metal mounts. On the coffin plate were engraved the words, Marie Jeanette Kelly, died 9th of November 1888, aged 25 years. Upon the coffin were 2 crowns of artificial flowers and a cross made up from heart's ease. The coffin was carried in an open car drawn by 2 horses, and 2 coaches followed. An enormous crowd of people assembled at an early hour, completely blocking the thoroughfare, and a large number of police were engaged in keeping order. The bell of St. Leonard's started tolling at noon, and the signal appeared to draw all the residents in the neighbourhood together. There was an enormous preponderance of women in the crowd, and scarcely had any covering on their head. The wreaths upon the coffin bore cards with remembrance from friends using certain public houses in common with the murdered woman. As the coffin appeared, borne on the shoulders of 4 men, at the principal gate of the church, the crowd appeared to be greatly affected. Round the open car in which it was to be placed, men and women struggled desperately to get to touch the coffin. Women with faces streaming with tears cried out, "God forgive her," and every man's head was bared in a token of sympathy. The sight was quite remarkable, and the emotion natural and unrestrained. 2 mourning coaches followed, one containing 3 and the other 5 persons, mourners who had been fortifying themselves for the journey at a public house close to the church gates. Joe Barnett was amongst them, with someone from McCarthy's, the landlord, and the others were women who had given evidence at the inquest. After a tremendous struggle, the car, with the coffin fully exposed to view, set out at a very slow pace, all the crowd appearing to move off simultaneously in attendance. The traffic was blocked, and the constables had great difficulty in obtaining free passage for the small procession through the mass of carts, vans and tramcars. So, as I say, it was really quite an extraordinary occasion and drew very large numbers of people. And what I'd like to do now is actually find this grave, which is not so far from here. So just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, as I make my way back to the main path. Just turn round here to the left. Here we go. And the grave is more or less directly in front of us. If anybody misses it, there's a very conspicuous statue of a footballer here in marble. But that's not obviously Mary Kelly. Mary Kelly is just a little way beyond this. And here she is. So you can see for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, in loving memory of Marie Jeanette Kelly. None but the lonely hearts can know my sadness. Love lives forever. So having come up here, we will just put some flowers in remembrance of her. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is just about, not exactly the only one. Liz Stride also has her grave, but the other, that's in Ilford, I think. I'd have to look that up, or you could look it up. The other victims were buried in common graves. They weren't marked with headstones, but at least Mary Kelly had that that little tribute to her memory. And there we have it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll move on from here.